Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a really cool figure to take a look at, as it's the first time I've been able to acquire some of the newer Takara Tomy Jurassic World figures. They have a brand new line full of super nice looking figures out, and again, I've been kind of sitting on them for a little while. I was trying to find them for a decent price because they retail for around, if you go on like AliExpress or eBay, eBay's usually more expensive, but AliExpress, it's usually about like $15 roughly or so for each figure. And I recently saw that they were having a sale on a few that kind of dropped them down a few dollars, so I went ahead, placed an order for a few of them just to kind of get a feel of how they are and decide if I'm going to get the rest of them, because I do really want them, but I haven't actually pulled the trigger quite yet. But as you can see, I have pulled the trigger on a few, just not all. And the very first one that we have here to take a look at is the Spinosaurus, obviously sporting a very nice Jurassic Park 3 type of a look, which I absolutely love. Definitely a huge fan of that aspect of the figure. But then as far as the box art goes, we can see a really nice image of the figure, as well as yet another image of the figure. Again, the Spinosaurus name, Takara Tomy, and the Jurassic World logo up here on the top. Some more images, different images, as well as an image kind of showing off some of the articulation of the Spinosaurus. And then over here, again, another image showing off some articulation. And then on the back, we have pretty much the same style as far as like the species name. Again, another image of the Spino. Also, some more images showing off some of the articulation, and randomly Velociraptor blue down there. And then over here on this side, again, a smaller image of the Spino, as well as some information that I unfortunately cannot read, and the Jurassic World logo. The underneath also sports some more stuff that I cannot read, but as far as the box art goes, definitely looks pretty nice, but I'm really excited to see the figure that's contained within, so let's pop this box open and take a look at it. And here is our Spinosaurus, and that is actually way nicer than I was expecting it to be. And I usually think, the Takara Tomy figures are going to turn out pretty decent. Originally, when I first started to get a hold of them, I don't know why, I just had fairly low expectations. I didn't expect much out of them, but they've continuously impressed me as time has gone on, and that is definitely the case with this Spinosaurus. And in fact, I think this Spinosaurus here might be the most impressive Takara Tomy figure as far as what my expectations were leading me to believe compared to the actual in-hand piece. This is way nicer than I expected it to be. And as far as an accurate looking sculpt to the JP3 Spino, I think they nailed it as far as this type of figure goes. And the detail is honestly insane. Of course, the paintwork is kind of basic. You always get sort of basic paintwork with the Takara Tomy figures, but for what the figure is, as far as the paintwork that we have, it's actually pretty decent. And again, the likeness to the JP3 Spinosaurus is pretty much off the charts with this figure. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Spinosaurus, you can see that it looks really nice as far as the overall appearance to the head sculpt goes, as well as the fine detailing. There's some very nice, quite vibrant scale detail throughout the course of the head of the Spinosaurus. You can also see the nostrils are sculpted out quite nicely. The jaw is articulated, works super nicely, very smooth articulation. The teeth have a little hint of sloppiness to them as far as the paintwork goes, but it's not anything that's, terrible or distracting, I feel like. It's just a little bit of the paint seems to have run up onto the upper jaw and lower jaw, but just a tiny little hair of it. You can also see the inside of the mouth sports some very nice detailing, as well as a nice realistic tone of pink in there, and the tongue is present right there if my camera would focus on it. But honestly, that looks really good, and I love the addition of the articulated jaw. Of course, you kind of have a little ball joint over here on the lower jaw that not everyone's going to like, but it doesn't really bother me. I'm used to it at this point. That's kind of one of the Takara Tomy charms, I would say, but look at how far open that jaw can go. That can actually go really, really wide. Super nice looking articulated jaw. You can also see the eyes are painted with a green, given a black pupil, just like the Spinosaurus has in Jurassic Park 3. So they've done a great job of capturing that aspect as well. And some very nice paintwork to the Spinosaurus with a nice gray. And the gray looks, pretty reminiscent to the coloration on the Spino in JP3. It also kind of has, in the film, it has kind of like a brownish tint to it, but at the same time kind of a grayish tint, so you could pretty much go either way, I think, and definitely looks good as far as the coloration goes on this. You can also see some light variation of color up here on the top of the head. It looks like maybe they've given it a really light tint of red, like they kind of just tried to airbrush it over, but it just didn't come out very strong on the top, but It kind of gives it some slight alternate color variation, which is definitely a plus. Of course, we don't have the red and stuff leaking down into the face like we would see on the Spino in JP3, but again, like I stated, it's really basic as far as the paintwork goes on Takara Tomy figures. You can also see as we move back along the neck that we have some nice ridges kind of running down the spinal column, as well as some more really nice detailing to the skin. As you move down the course of the neck, you also have a little bit of hanging skin here in the throat region of the Spinosaurus. As we continue to move down the body, again, the skin texture looks really nice, honestly, like phenomenal for this sized figure. As you move down into the arms, you can see the arms are sculpted pretty nicely. You do have the elbow present back there and some pretty nicely sculpted out hands. The nails are painted with a gray, so they as well look pretty good. Of course, they're kind of like rounded out nails, being a toy. You don't expect sharp nails or anything like that on the figure, but as you move up here into the stomach region, you can again see some absolutely phenomenal looking skin texture, but we have like a little area of white here, which kind of is reminiscent to the Spino from JP3, but at the same time kind of not, because the Spino kind of has like a line of white that runs down and becomes a little bit more visible, I think, or actually I shouldn't say visible, more abundant in the stomach region, so it kind of resembles it, but at the same time not in like an exact kind of a way. But as you move up here to the top, you can see that the sail looks really good as far as the detailing and the paintwork, as we have some nice tones of white and reds. The red kind of runs over the top of the sail. We have some white in here, and that's pretty much how the Spinosaurus' sail looks in the film, except there would also be some blue and stuff included in it. But again, back to that we get basic paintwork on these figures. I feel like what we've been given here actually looks pretty good. As you move down here into the thigh, you can see some nice muscle definition in the thigh. Even down here, you can pick out the kneecap presence, some nice creasing in the joint of the knee, as well as the calf muscle. And again, the skin texture is honestly incredible for this size figure, and in general for a Takara Tomy figure. In my opinion, these are definitely, or at least this one specifically, but this is definitely one of the most highly detailed Takara Tomy figures I have seen, and seeing how good this looks honestly has me so psyched for anything they're going to produce in the future. You can also see that the foot looks pretty good. We have some nicely painted nails again with a gray. The nails look pretty big, a little bit too big, but they still don't look terrible either. And then actually, yes, we do have a dew claw. I did want to check for that, and it is painted, which is a huge plus. And then as we move back up here into the tail, you can see some skin wrinkles as well as some more really nice skin texture. The sail continues to taper off here before completely disappearing as we lead out the length of the tail, but we do still have a little bit of that red showing up here following out the remainder of the tail before we get to this last little bit, and that is just the gray. But you can also see again those ball joints that, again, if you're a fan of the Takara Tomy line, that's kind of going to be like part of their charm. But if you're not a fan of the Takara Tomy line, that might bother you. But personally, again, I'm so far into the Tomy line as far as these Takara Tomy figures go that it's kind of become a part of its charm to me. I really do not mind that at all, and I don't think it looks out of place or anything. It's just the way that these figures always are. But you can see that the texturing and everything to the tail continues to look really nice as you lead out the length of the tail. You're not really going to see too much difference over here in comparison to the initial side. The head looks to be pretty much straightforward. The arms are not really too far off as far as the positioning goes. You can see they're a little bit different, but not enough to make a drastic difference in the sculpt or anything over here, any more so than what we had seen on the initial side. You can again see lots of really nice like skin wrinkling and everything here in the stomach, as well as fantastic texturing. Of course, the sail is not really going to look any different over here than it did on the initial side. The one difference you can definitely see, though, is that the legs are in a different position. The leg over here is trailing a little bit more so than the leg on the other side, which is leading. You can see again that the detailing aspect looks great, though, moving down the course of that leg. Again, a really nice looking foot sculpt. The nails are very nicely painted. There doesn't appear to be any kind of sloppiness as far as the nail paint goes. The only area that has had any sloppiness at all would be the teeth, and it's just a very slight bit of sloppiness. But then again, you can lead out the length of the tail, and the underside does sport some white coloration, or like a light gray. So we do have some, yeah, definitely a light gray. So we do have some alternate coloration down there, which looks pretty nice, and the sculpt absolutely looks incredible on the underside for the size of this figure. There's also some, slight hints of like some grays or whites here in the thighs as well, but that honestly is an absolutely gorgeous looking JP3 Spinosaurus for the size. This thing is awesome. Now, as far as articulation goes on our Spinosaurus, again, like I had shown off, we do have the articulated jaw. which can go really, really wide. We do not have articulation in the arms at all. They're a little bendable, but there's no actual articulation. We do have articulation in the legs, though, which works really smoothly. You can see both legs work great. And then we have articulation in the tail, which can move in two different spots right here, and both are on ball joints, so you can swivel them if you would like, creating whatever type of pose you would like with your Spinosaurus. So pretty much I would say your standard articulation when it comes to a Takara Tomy figure. So as far as a size goes, now this one was standing so well, and now it's not going to stand apparently. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I just moved it out of that comfortable position that it was in. Oh, there we go. I just didn't have the left leg down all the way, so that was my fault. But as far as a length goes, it's again not a very big figure. The Takara Tomy figures never really are. You're looking at about 6 1/4 inches or around 16 centimeters, and then for a height to the top of the sail, about 2 3/4 inches or around 7 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Takara Tomy Spinosaurus. And I think next to these figures here, it really shows off how small the Takara Tomy figures are, and honestly makes them so much more impressive when you take a look back at that closer look and you see how insanely nice that detailing aspect is. And then you see it here in comparison to these figures, like it's smaller than an Attack Pack, but still sports some unbelievably impressive detail. So hopefully this here would show you not only that the figure is fairly small, but also incredible when it comes to its size. And then for another size comparison, here is the Takara Tomy Tyrannosaurus Rex, the JP style Rex, in comparison to the Takara Tomy Spinosaurus. There's actually another new JP Rex that they have recently released that I really want to get my hands on. Looks super nice, but it hasn't shown up on AliExpress quite yet. It is on Amazon Japan, but I haven't ordered it because I haven't been too inclined to bother my friend Rod, who I was contacting recently to acquire a lot of the Takara Tomy figures. I decided it would just be easier not to bother him and order a few from AliExpress, and except for that one isn't on there, so I might have to bug him for that one to help me order it. But as far as the figures go, again, you can see roughly that they are a very similar size, not too far off from each other, and all of the Takara Tomy figures usually follow right in the same similar size range. They're sometimes a little smaller, sometimes slightly bigger, but they're all fairly similar in size for the most part, except for like little ones like the Velociraptor Blue and everything like that. But hopefully these will help again to give you a good idea of the size. So this brand new Takara Tomy Spinosaurus, the Jurassic World, well actually I should say Jurassic Park 3 version of the Spinosaurus, because although it says Jurassic World on it, it's obviously more of a JP3 style Spinosaurus, and since we've only had a Spinosaurus in Camp Cretaceous as far as Jurassic World goes, and the coloration of that one didn't really look quite like what we see here on this one, I would definitely label this more of a JP3 style Spino, but it looks awesome. Like as far as a Spinosaurus replicating the Jurassic Park 3 version at this size range, this is incredible. Like the sculpt is so good, so much insanely nice detailing throughout. A lot of like skin wrinkles and like kind of hanging skin. Just detail that you wouldn't expect to be on a figure so small, the type of detail you would expect to be reserved for larger figures, but it is all abundant on this one. Like it's everywhere. It is just jam-packed when it comes to the sculpt. I don't know if Takara Tomy has a new sculptor working for them or if their previous sculptor has just improved this much, but this is an incredibly impressive step up as far as quality goes when it comes to the Takara Tomy line. And the sculpt, again, not only is highly detailed, but in my opinion perfectly matches up to what you see on the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. The paintwork as well is pretty nice, but again, as far as a Takara Tomy figure goes, you usually get kind of standard, fairly basic paintwork on your figures, and that's what you see here. The tones of color used are all really nice and also perfectly, in my opinion, replicate that Jurassic Park 3 appearance to the Spinosaurus, but there's just not quite as much color on this as you would see on the actual version from the film, and that's to be expected, especially when it comes to toys, but specifically the Takara Tomy line usually doesn't have all that much paintwork to them, but what they do give you is pretty much what you would expect, and it always looks nice and natural throughout the course of the figure, and that is definitely the case with this one. All of the paintwork seems to have been mostly applied with like airbrushes and stuff, so there's super nice smooth transitions in between colors. and it all looks like body color, not paint on a figure, which is always a big plus. And you also have some articulation, which is another fun aspect of the Takara Tomy line, with quite a bit of articulation on this Spinosaurus. Again, not everybody's going to like the ball joints in the tail, but at this point, if you've seen any previous Takara Tomy reviews, you already know what you're getting when it comes to this style figure, and that, again, is part of their charm, I think, so I don't mind that at all, and I've actually grown to kind of like it, so another really nice Takara Tomy figure, and I cannot wait to see more from the newer Jurassic World figures that they have released, because this one here is absolutely fantastic. So make sure if you are interested, you check the link in the description, as I will include a link to AliExpress where I purchased mine, so you can head on over there, pick this up for yourself, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe before you do, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.